Hello and welcome to Imperfect Parenting Podcast. Today is a special day. We told you last week that you wouldn't want to miss it. And it is very, very fun and special because we don't have guests on this show. I don't know if you realize this, Eric Knopf, but we don't really have guests.
All the guests you have, you just keep around. You invite Seth and he stays.
And he
you invite me and I'm still here.
But you're one of the first guests that we've ever had. So welcome, Eric Knopf, to the Imperfect Parenting Podcast.
The listening crowd goes wild.
They do, hearing in the background.
A smattering of claps in the background. Who's that guy? No, thank you. It is great to be with you guys. Thank you for having me.
So we've been having all sorts of conversations around critical thinking, and Eric wrote a book, and we'll get into that. And just watching what Eric does with his family is amazing. But we'll talk about that later, so we won't deter ourselves from.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. But Eric, what we always do in the beginning of our podcast is we like a good giggle, and I figure that parents really run on the refreshing of laughter. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's just really hard.
If parents aren't laughing, they're probably crying.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Is if we're not laughing, we're crying.
We're swapping them. Yes.
Something's happening. So we always have a meme that we share with our audience because it's the best. And we already prepped you a little bit for this. So you actually helped us find these memes. These are like classic memes.
Eric has more memes than we have time to share today, which is fantastic. It's a good problem to have.
And Eric's probably one of the funniest people that I've seen around and different reasons. Like you when you showed up at the board meeting is still by far my favorite introduction of a human being I could have ever met. Because I don't know what the exchange was, but something with bells on. That's all I know.
I'm going to shut with bells on.
Yeah, it was, I think Sherry said, gave me some details, and I said, I'll be there with bells on, which is, like the common statement. And then I was like, I think I chased the emails like, and I might be serious. And then I decided I'm a person who's an expert at wasting time. And so I bought a whole bunch of bells from Amazon with Velcro and attached them all to myself and walked with bells on. I was like, well, it's being serious.
It was awesome.
Right. Yeah. And I just remember sitting there going, oh my gosh, that just happened.
I thought it was awesome.
It was.
There was 15 seconds there that I thought, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done, and I've ruined all credibility for the rest of my life with these people.
No, you didn't, because that was also the day the world shut down of 2020.
Oh my gosh.
You proved yourself so dedicated to our cause, and we thought, man, this guy is funny and incredibly loyal. So you won deep points for that one.
Yeah. You can already tell Eric means many things to Loving on Purpose and the people here. So
we're grateful for him.
Yeah. All
right, Eric, do you want to share?
You should.
Your memes that you've chosen? You could share both of them. We've got plenty of time.
Okay. So I'll share two of them. So there's a gentleman, his name is Simon Holland, and he has a meme that says, "My wife and I are going to be super bummed if we don't get a good grade on our daughter's science fair project."
That's
real. It just speaks to the, involvement that parents have in all projects of their kids and how much like they are hoping to win. And so as a parent who's gone way overboard on behalf of my kids, I feel the weight of that meme. And then the other meme, and this is a visual one, you have to see it. We'll post it, I guess, on the Instagram account, but the meme is things my kid has to tell me when asked about their school day. And on one side, the picture is like the world's tiniest book. It's probably like, 2 millimeters, a little book. And then the other side of the meme, it says the things my kid has to tell me at bedtime. And it's somebody with like the world's largest book and just speaks to, our kids, how they'll maybe do anything to stall bedtime and become dehydrated philosophers when it's time to go to bed. So
yeah, we should quote that.
Someone should write that down. Dehydrated philosophers. It's true. I'm thirsty. I want to tell you all the things I didn't tell you today.
Yes,
well, and then we ponder life's mysteries. Like,
that's right.
Why do sharks not have tongues, or do they have tongues? You're like, I don't know. Do we need to answer that question?
It's 9:30.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I can still remember being a thirsty philosopher as a child myself. It's just a thing. It's built in.
Anything to delay bedtime. Anything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then it changes. You become an adult, you're like, anything to get there sooner.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Eric,
That's
you've
right.
been on the Kylo show. I know that because I've been there with you, and always fun to have you on our show. You're famous over there for what you've done in the work world and your company and the culture in which you create. So, if you're curious about that interview on the Kylo show, it's during the workplace series. But that's not why we have you here today. We have you here because you are an excellent father and an excellent husband, and you have put that on display on so many ways. And then you wrote a book, but tell us a little bit about you, your family, I wish we had all the time for the stories. I think people should just get your book because there's lots of stories in there that I loved.
If y'all watching,
Oh, he's got it. There it is.
here it is. Raising Entrepreneurs.
Raising entrepreneurs.
Danny's little comment at the very top says, "This is rocket fuel for parents."
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
that's the only reason you get
Best
it.
compliment I've ever received right there.
9 practical principles for raising your kids to become entrepreneurs. So there we go. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. So I've been married 19 years to Camille. And if you've met Camille, you'll know that I've married way beyond my pay grade and a level. Like if we're in a grocery checkout stand, the cashier will actually put the plastic divider between my stuff and hers. Like they will assume that we're not together. So that's how high I married up. Love of my life. We met in Santa Barbara 20 years ago in college, and I've got a upset story of how I basically wore her down. But no, we fell in love at the end of college, and she's a veterinarian by trade, so moved to Northern California, helped her start her first business. I was already in my first business, an entrepreneur just from really my childhood. And the whole premise on the book is that you can have these childhood experiences that tilt you to become an entrepreneur. When you look at all of the incredible stories of all the titans of industry, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you name it. Like the list goes on. You will find that they were shifted towards entrepreneurship through these childhood experiences. So that's the whole premise of the book. And my upbringing was exactly the same. And why am I so different than so many other people? I believe that what my parents did on accident, we can do on purpose if we want to raise kids to be entrepreneurial. It's not maybe everybody's ambition, but it's my passionate topic. So I was into my entrepreneurial career right after we got married. We waited about 9 years, had our first child, Scarlett, who now is almost 12. And so Maverick, who is 9, turning 10 later. So we got 2 kids, wonderful kids. And I just love life with them. I want to be the best dad, human possible. My vision is to be the best husband, father, and entrepreneur in the world. And I like to break the rules in terms of just like the paradigms and things that we would maybe live down to. And so when I was dating Camille, because I had my odds stacked against me, it's like, if I don't win her, I'm at least going to ruin her for any other person who dates her. So I'm going to just go over the top. I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to be the most ambitious, most fun and creative person. So that's really parlayed into what I do with work. And then also with my kids. I'm just trying to take this precious era, this time I have with them, and make the most of it, and to go all out. So I embarrassed my wife to no end. We ran into a person on a flight. I'm on vacation right now, and so I ran into a guy I haven't had many interactions with. We kind of loosely know each other, but I've had a conversation with this person for like maybe 10 years, maybe more. And so we run into him on the airplane. I didn't even recognize him. And then we see him out after we deplane, and he starts telling my wife about all the things he's seen me do with my kids on my Insta stories, and
awesome.
Just goes all in. So apparently, I've got a reputation now of doing dumb or mildly life-threatening things with my own life and fun things with my kids that makes people notice. So it's a fun life, and I love every second of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I know of you just from watching through Instagram is, let's go sledding down the mountain in July or something like that, or I mean,
how fast can we go?
How fast can you, what I remember in 2020, when everything shut down, you built the squirrel houses with your kids and put cameras in them. And like, it started with a bird. I don't know how it started, except for you actually had a live webcam for people to watch the chipmunk house or something.
Yes.
How did that go?
Chipmunks.live. Yeah. So, it was COVID, the world's ending. We are depressed. And I saw some meme of like a wife joking that her husband's venting his, stress with COVID by building a squirrel picnic bench. And so my son, like, I just was giggling at it. Of course, your kids hear you giggle, what is it? What is it? What is it? And so I showed my son this, picnic bench with a squirrel, eating some nut. And so he then is like, we've got to do this. And so he got all excited. And so I've never done woodworking before. So I bought some saws and had some like old siding from the side of the house. And like there's no blueprints for this. And so we drew it up and we came up with this master plan of like how to build a squirrel picnic bench. And so we did that. And then my daughter, really wanted to, well, I want to build something with you. And so she wanted to build a bird house. And so we built a big size birdhouse for that. And so we were trying to do it for like the squirrels though. But the problem is we live in Tahoe. These little squirrels would go up there and get the nuts, which was wildly fun. But then you have these bully birds. I don't know what breed of birds they are, but they come and like dive bomb the squirrels and the chipmunks. And my daughter was just, the injustice of it all.
Yeah. I feel her.
She's like, she could not believe it. And so then it became a mission to create a safe safe location for these squirrels. And I was like, all right, if you could build anything, and I have this on my Insta story highlights, you can go watch the entire story.
That's great.
We then started drawing up blueprints, and I just like, anything you want, let's just go for it. And it became a 2-story open floor plan, gigantic house. Then I'd like, I'd like reinforce a tree to hang this thing like on there. And it was just the wild adventure and we built plexiglass windows so that, we could watch the chipmunks in there. But by that time I had so many people that were enthralled in this adventure. So then I live streamed, I had this camera and we put it inside there and live streamed for a whole half day of chipmunks going in there. And, again, don't underestimate my ability to waste time. I mean, this really is what it comes back to, is that I'm a professional adventurer with wasting time. But great times, and the kids loved it, and they still talk about it to this day.
I think one of the things I've heard you say many times in just conversations with you and reading in the book, and you just said it again, is if you could do anything, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And you have this ability to help our kids. Like, I mean, when I read your book, I read it in less than 24 hours. I was going somewhere, but I was like, I love this. I love the heart behind your concept of the book is just putting on display the possibilities are endless if you're dedicated to making it happen. And, and creatively thinking outside of the box and what could happen. So you just saying that, like, if you could do anything, what would we do? Like, how did you come up with that mindset and then direct it towards your kids? Because I think that way, but I don't know that everybody looks at their kids' Halloween costume and says, you could turn into a transformer that looks like a semi-truck, but really it's a transformer because you think you did that too, or Bumblebee or something like that. Didn't you do that one as well?
We've done a lot of things. Probably what you think of is like a gigantic F-15 fighter jet I made out of cardboard.
That's what it was.
And it was over the top. And I've learned paper mache as an adult. I never learned it as a kid, but I've made so many contraptions in paper mache. I think where it comes from, and I would attribute this back to my parents. So to give you, the listeners, some context, my father's a family doctor, like a family physician, someone who's pursued to the heights of a career in academia and science and has become a doctor, right? And like that is like growing up like the pinnacle of professional career development, right? To be a doctor. And my mom is a singer, songwriter, musician, but the prestige and the honor and the sophistication and the dedication and the accolades about becoming a doctor, was not to be overstated. And so here's 4-year-old Eric and 5-year-old Eric. And so as a normal parent would ask, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And have you ever thought about it? 5-year-old Eric says, I want to be the person at the road construction stop who turns the sign from stop to slow. And, there would be every justifiable right for a physician, a prestigious medical professional who is accomplished and has provided for his family and is all the things that go along with being a doctor, to squash that dream, to tell me why it's dumb, to tell me why it doesn't require any skill, to tell me why it wouldn't be sufficient to provide for a family, all the reasons. And he and my mom were like, that's awesome. Let's take you to road construction sites. They would find out where the different road construction, activities were happening. And they would take me and they bought me that orange little vest. And I would sit on the hillside with my own little vest and a construction helmet. Like I'm showing up there for like work, right? I would bring like a little lunch pail with like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And these workers are like, what is this kid? And I just would perch up and just would watch the road construction site. So what's inside that is our ability as parents to, in the pursuit of being helpful or to justify or to rationalize or to help critical thinking, is the danger to squash the dream.
Yeah.
Should a parent at this level be really concerned that their 5-year-old son is going to grow up and become the road construction worker? Probably not, No. But that's what a lot of us do. And what we unintentionally do is we squash the dreams of our kids, not realizing that we don't need to fight the practicalities of the dream. We need to preserve that winsome and that whimsical heart within them that's creative. What happened after that is I then took a liking to fighter jets and air shows and Top Gun. Yes, my son's name is Maverick. That goes directly back to, being 8 years old and just being obsessed with fighter jets. And so my dad and mom would take me to air shows. I got the jean jacket, just like Tom Cruise and Top Gun. And I thought it was so cool. I got the aviator glasses and, would fantasize all in fighter jets and just be obsessed with that. I would draw them all day. And then I wanted to become an artist, a cartoonist. Then I wanted to become a fly fisherman, a dirt bike rider. At one point, I was so convinced I wanted to go to the NBA as well. Like my parents got me like the jump soles that would help you build your vertical jump. Like they just would at every little turn. Like it was always like, sure, go for it. How that relates is, I think, when I talk about anything being possible, is I haven't had the crushing defeat of my parents crushing my dreams. And I haven't had this critical voice that at every suggestion of a new idea doesn't have that critical crushing spirit that comes upon it. And so that carries through my life with my own kids. It's like, if you could do anything, it's like nothing's permanent. And we bring such high stakes and permanency to the dynamics with our kids, and it's just totally unnecessary. And so I would rather feed into their creativity, even if it's ridiculous, even if it's impossible. I don't care. Like, it is more important to feed into that creativity and to fan that flame than to bring a critical spirit and to make them afraid of their own ideas. So that's really where it comes from. So for me, it's really eliminating that fear of failure. I just think the greatest strength I have as an entrepreneur is that I just have never had that neural wiring that was, experienced as a kid, where you just have this, I'm stupid. Like, it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. I just have never had that. And so I'm also really good at bad ideas too with that. So, but I'd rather have the good and the bad. I'd rather have a more creative disposition than to always be fearful, because so many people are so afraid that things are not going to work out. And unless you're boarding a rocket ship, what's the worst thing that can happen is you just go back and do what you were doing before. The stakes are often really, really low, but we pretend like they are so high.
That's profound.
So good. I'm sitting there thinking about I'm wondering if there's parents who are even thinking about their own upbringing and just thinking about their dreams being squashed, whether it's intentional or not. They have their own upbringing that has created certain things in them. So how do they turn around and do something different for their own kids? Right. I can probably create an answer right here, but just from your own experience and watching this and probably having conversations with parents, what would you tell them? Like, chase that thing away so your kids get a different experience than you had.
I think until we are confronted with that happened to us, and we're confronted that we have our own unfulfilled dreams, we won't be able to redeem the cycle with our own kids. We will, by very nature, repeat the patterns we've been demonstrated to repeat, right? And so I think it's culturally, if it's in your family, of like, our family does X, Y, and Z, and we get a good job, and we're going to do whatever, like that, you will repeat that pattern. And so I think people have to come to awareness of like, wow, I really wanted this. And I'll hear this all the time. When I share this story, people will say, well, man, my childhood dream was to be X, and my parents shamed me for it, and I went on to do this, and I hate my career. That's the revelation they have to have before they'll be motivated to lean in the opposite direction.
That's good.
Yeah.
And when they realize that you don't need to, as a 30 some odd year old adult, don't need to compete against your 7-year-old's dreams. Like, it's not productive. Like, you're not going to help them at that stage in that way, but you're going to harm them. There's no way you can be helpful, but you absolutely can harm their dreams, and you will make them fearful of their own ambitions. So my son wants to be a robot inventor. Am I going to be like, oh, well, you don't really like math, and so technically you should not be able to, like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fan the flames of being a robot inventor as long as he wants. And then kids figure it out. You need them to try things. The only way they will actually discover things is to try them. But we are so afraid of our kids trying things because we will attach permanency to it, and we're afraid of where that might go. And so I think that we should, as parents, embrace changing directions. We've changed sports more times than I could ever tell you. And sometimes parents are like, well, the one sport we're always going to do is going to be soccer. And there's such a permanence of direction where we should be, as parents, able to adjust. Try it 1 year, try something else. We tried dancing lessons for Maverick because he's got great rhythm. He gets it from his mom. And, hey, maybe you want to try this. Like, be a family that wants to try a lot of different things and have your kids try and test and explore, and they will find that way. But if you haven't experienced that pain for yourself, you won't know how to lean into it for your own kids. And it's super fun when you realize that, man, because I opened this door for my child at 7 years old does not mean I'm setting in stone the rest of their career and their lives. The stakes are not that high.
Yeah, that's Eric didn't go on to become the man who stands at the workstation, which you could have, and it could have been great. You'd be the best at it. But it's
running
such
heavy
a great
equipment
story.
still looks attractive.
Yeah,
operating the heavy equipment
fun.
still looks fun. Yeah, totally. I told my wife that the other day. I was like, if I were to do another thing for fun, like, man, destroying things with hydraulics would be really fun.
She's just waiting.
Yeah.
So I think about parents that maybe are realizing on this podcast, or they already are aware of their dreams were crushed as kids, and they don't, maybe they're on a journey of healing, but in the process, I think we try really hard. I mean, I think there's different things from our past that I can point to. Yes. And I'm aware of when I'm leading my kids, or, and we
for sure.
Delaney, who went through a feed store, Taco Bell, and Safeway, and jobs. The biggest thing I think we kept telling her is, I don't really care where you work. I care that you're really happy in what you're doing. So if it's a manager at, Starbucks for your whole life, great, as long as you have loved it. But if you're not happy, you got to keep going. So, but how do you help parents that feel like, oh gosh, I've got so much baggage, I don't even know how to make space for my kids' dreams? Like, where would you direct them? Because I think a lot of parents are hearing like this and seeing, I'm totally fearful. I don't want to produce fear in my kids. I don't want to crush their dreams, but they have such a desire to see them be successful and not repeat cycles. Like, practically, where would you direct them? What would you tell them to do to change that cycle? And, maybe their kids are 10, and we've lost that 5-year-old wonder, but how could you encourage them to lean in?
That's such a great question. I think when kids look to us, we are the gatekeepers to so much else in their life. One thing that I'll do with my kids that I try to do is, if we're going to do it, we're going to go for it. I'll do the things called yes days where, anything you say goes, we're just going to go. And really, like, again, the critical thing is like, no, I can't say yes to everything my child wants because it's going to be too expensive or whatever. And really, I to my son's like, son, we're going to have dude's weekend. Come up with a list of all the things you want. And I was like, play video games at breakfast, play video games in bed, and have pizza. It's like, it was like a $70 ask all day, and just my time. It wasn't like first class tickets to Paris, right? And so something I try as a father is when they look at me, I want them to see me as an advocate for them and to be for them and not against them. And I think in parents, we're so commonly saying, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Are we saying not yes enough?
Yeah.
Are we actually looked upon from our kids as someone that sees us as someone who opens up things they wouldn't have otherwise? So probably step back before it becomes the career and becomes the dreams, and ask, are you safe with your kids where they look upon you as someone who makes things possible, as someone who can say yes, who's someone who can make things happen? And I think some of the easy ways to do that would be plan surprise weekends. You know, my kids love water parks. My wife does not like them, but I'm happy to carry that burden for the family. And I'll surprise the kids with things like that, or it'll be dad's, time to take the kids out, let mommy take a break, and I'll drive them. We'll go to like an arcade, and then what else do you want to do? You want to go get slushies? Let's go get slushies. You want to do this? Let's go do that. And I'll just spend an afternoon and all right, I've got the keys, the car. What do you want? And we'll go. And so trying to build in this rhythm of them where I can help make their ideas come to life. And usually it's in fun activities, bounce houses, things like that. And it's just spend an evening. So I'd probably first say the very first thing is having a relationship where your kids can trust you with even things they want, even things they feel guilty about wanting. Dad, I want to eat pizza in bed and play video games with you, right? Like that's like big no. I want to stay up late, And
Whoa.
So I think the first layer is building a relationship where I'm not just the kingdom of no. I'm the kingdom of making things possible for you that you are afraid to ask, maybe are embarrassed to ask, want to indulge in. And then I think from there, it parlays into careers of like, hey, what would you imagine your future like? What are the things that you love? As your kids reveal what they love, you can then begin to lean in and to explore that. Our daughter loves horses. My wife's a horse vet. Horses were probably an inevitable outcome for my life. And so, we would do horseback riding lessons, and she expressed that she wanted to take a lesson to go jump. And to jump a horse just seems like ridiculously stupid to me because these creatures are so powerful and so dangerous, and they can change their minds as they go over jumps. I don't know. It's a whole thing. For a risk taker, I look at horses and jumping horses as being the dumbest thing a human can do.
I'm going to say, forget who takes the wildest risks. Horses are there it is. There's the line.
There it is. I know. My dirt bike has never not wanted to go over jumps, so I just can't relate to this. But she decided that she wanted to take a horse jumping lesson. There's a lot of ways to express interest in horses, but she wanted to wow, it'd be really cool to jump a horse. And so we tried a lesson, and we tried a second lesson. And so now that created this flame in her that it burns bright for competing. And the little turkey now is winning all these first place in these horse jumping competitions. So, but it's great because it started from, I want to be around horses. I want to pet horses. I want to practice riding them, to I want to jump them. But it all goes back to the dynamic that we have with our kids. And can they trust us with, I want a slushie when I don't deserve it? That will open up the doors to, this is the dream of my heart. I want to explore this. Do I believe my daughter's going to pursue horse jumping as a career? Probably not, but it doesn't matter. I don't need to fight that battle today. I don't need to fight that battle ever. She's going to figure it out.
I think there's two things that I heard you say without using these words, Eric, that I think is just so helpful and so good. The first one is just the nature of enjoying our kids and just enjoying the relationship. So I think hiding in all the things you're describing and fanning the flame of their dreams, hiding in there really is, we just want to enjoy each other and just have fun together. Like those are the memories we want to create, not a bunch of boundaries of no and sorry, we can't do that. And life's too busy. So it's just that, first of all, is just beautiful. And I think it's such a great reminder. I think the second thing is, the horse jumping thing you just described. There's gonna be lots of places where parents get to a point with their kids and they go, no, this is the thing that scares me. So,
right, totally.
But let's keep going. So even just the practice you just put on display there of, you found the fear you have as a parent, but it didn't change your practice. So
Right.
thank you
Yeah.
for sharing
And the
that. That's
expense
awesome.
with horses too. Like that's the other thing is like horses is not like this economical exploration, and so it's like, oh man, it's a
Investment.
worst financial decision anyone could ever make is owning a horse. They're like money incinerators with hooves, but having, I will say, the joy and the delight of my daughter.
Yeah.
And my wife too. Like she got a horse after seeing the delight. And my daughter, she got a horse this past year. It's like, I'm never going to financially recover from this. Seeing the sheer joy and delight of the people you love.
Wow.
Like I can push off that other thing. Like, okay, we're going to push out retirement or whatever things. Like we will always have rational reasons not to spend money on things. And I'm not suggesting people should go in debt for horses, but what you should do is you should evaluate, why am I holding back? If I can do it, what am I storing up this money for? And I would rather work longer. I'd rather, save money somewhere else to lean into the areas that create maximum joy for my family. Beautiful. And there are so many ways that we can rationalize not doing things because of money reasons, but we're not promised another day. We're not promised another year. We're not promised any of these things. So no one should ever take financial advice from me ever. Evidenced by I have 2 horses, but I would say there are people who are putting their dreams off for another day that they're not promised to ever live to that day. And what are they surrendering now? And as a parent and as a husband, leaning into those experiences and just saying, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it for a year. And so it's enormously satisfying to see the joy that comes from those experiences.
No.
Wow.
I love that. I think the other thing I've heard you say over and over again is the dedication to being present with our kids. Whether Maverick wants to be a robot inventor or, Scarlett's going to be a professional horse jumper, you are invested and present in the moment right now. And I think that long-term investment for our kids also just shows how much we have value for the things that they find so interesting, and that we show up as engaged, which is always what I'm chasing after with my book is being that engaged parent, because I think that's really actually how the Father is with us. And so all that we can do to mirror him in how we're parenting is winning.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing that I realize that's going to vanish very soon is, Daddy, will you play with us? Like, how many more days, weeks, months, years do I have of that? My 2 kids were walking down the village here, we're visiting, and my son, who's 9, is holding my arm with his hand, and my daughter's holding my hand. She's almost 12. I'm like, this does not have a lot of time left on it. And so we're at the beach, and so, Daddy, will you play with us? I've got a million things to do. And our phones are these enemies to our intimacy with our kids. That all of the world's distractions are waiting for us. And here are these 2 innocent souls. Daddy, will you play with us? And I hate running. I don't like to run unless I'm being chased by someone with a knife, right? Like that's my running policy in general. And so we're at the beach, and so they wanted me to chase them. And so I grabbed some seaweed and I just chase after them, and I just exhaust myself, but that's what they want. I also hate cold water. Ben, you got me to do the first and only ever cold plunge in my life.
I don't know.
But I still resent you to this day for that. I will never forgive you.
So proud of
you. There's this pool also kind of near this community that's there, and the pool is freezing. And the kids are in there. Daddy, will you play with this? Daddy, will you play with this? And I'm like, I hate cold water. No, I just I'll play with you in the hot tub. Come over there. So my kid's bobbing on the surface there. And I was like, oh, man, there's going to be a day where I will wish that I'd said yes, that I took advantage of every request. So I'm laying on the little sun chair, just don't want to get in the cold water. And I have this moment, and my son's turning back to me. He doesn't see me. And I take off my shirt and I run and just cannonball into the water, freezing, and get him all cold and everything like that. And just, It was awful. I hated the cold water still, but at least the moment of satisfying what my kids wanted, to not miss those opportunities, because our mama couldn't get them back. They're fleeting time. So, but to your point, Brittany, of being present, and the little requests they ask, they're asking just, can I have your attention?
Yeah.
Will you be involved?
Yeah.
Will you play with me? Is so powerful and so precious in these times.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I mean, we've got an 18-year-old now, and she doesn't ask, will you play with me? But I think that when you steward your relationship well with your kids and you practice, I want to be engaged and I care deeply and I'm invested and I'm interested. When you steward that and you put loudly on display, I enjoy being with you. We're watching is this 18-year-old has now lives in a different city and we only have FaceTime or when we go see her. The longing for us and the value for us still remains. So to encourage you in that, yes, the daddy, will you play with us? It changes. It doesn't sound the same, but I can say, as having a good relationship with my dad, I still, in some version or another, I'm saying, daddy, will you still be interested in me? That question is, I think, always there in a healthy relationship. So as you keep stewarding that, I think the fruit is that you get it forever as long as you steward it well. So it's just going to change. I think, daddy, will you play with me? It's just going to change. But my guess is the investment that you're making in your kids is it just will change. But that same richness and desire to be connected will live on for adulthood.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Eric, so encouraging. This is the best first guest we ever had.
This is it. That's where you want to go.
That's the book.
Eric Knopf. And we'll tag you and all the things, and
sure,
we'll make sure your book gets on display. But
I mean, this really helps flesh out what Eric's talking about.
Yeah, it's super practical and a fun read. It's full of stories. I love stories and how you learn from stories. So you want to check that out.
And it's short.
And it's short.
I don't like to read long books. I selfishly wrote this, what is the amount that I would read myself? And
perfect.
I hate books that, could have been 50 pages and they find a way to make it 400 pages.
No, those are never
taking it too far. So it's very short, practical, and lots of stories. But thank you guys for having me on and getting to share stories. I love talking to you guys. Love sharing about life and family and kids, and you guys are amazing and really appreciate it.
Oh. Well, we love having you on the podcast, and for our listeners out there, I'm so glad that you got to meet another friend of ours who is doing a great job being a dad, and so you would be wise to pick up his book. So check it out. We'll see you next time on Imperfect Parenting.
Thanks, Eric.